The warmth and vibrancy of Glasgow in Scotland overcame the January chills and rain as we met lighting designer Grant Anderson in the city's famous Botanical Gardens. We talked about Grant's career and his work and about the specific challenges of lighting illuminated trail experiences. So first question as always, can you tell me how you know this location?
Yeah, I know the Botanical Gardens in Glasgow very well. I have a base about 5 minutes down the road from here, and I design Glasgow for It Is On events every year, which is a 2-kilometre illuminated trail which culminates in a show just behind me at the Kibble.
We're going to talk about that a bit later in the interview, but first of all, can I ask about how you first got interested in lighting? What first sparked you?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was very fortunate. My parents took me to see lots of theatre as a child, and I knew I never wanted to be on stage, but I loved something about the magic of theatre lighting, and I went through the kind of usual track at school of attempting to be in a couple of shows, but soon found my way backstage and front of house, and I think that with the kind of the technical aspects that I'm really interested in, plus the creative, the lighting was like a perfect fit, really.
So that was at school. Obviously you did lots of activities then, as much as you can, and then I believe you studied. Did you actually study lighting, or was it like technical theatre?
Studied lighting at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland on a course that was based around design. It was called Technical and Production Arts Design. So we kind of looked at set, costume and lighting design and a bit of projection. And then you went there knowing that you wanted to be a lighting designer effectively. That was the best fit of course for me at the time. I looked at ones up and down the country and also further afield in Europe. But the best thing for me about that conservatoire approach was that we got to look at opera, musicals, contemporary work, straight acting and music. You really kind of specialised on lighting, but across a whole bunch of platforms really, which was really exciting.
And let's just talk briefly about the Glasgow event right here in the Botanical Gardens that you lit for the last 2 years, but obviously last year 2020 was a bit different because of all the COVID regulations.
Yeah.
So how did they affect what you did?
We had a few restrictions, mainly physical restrictions. The capacity was greatly reduced. We had social distancing markers, and our stewards had light up wands just to kind of hopefully make people feel safe. From a lighting point of view, not much changed other than a bit more of illuminating paths, and the shows. We tried to stop dwell time, so instead of putting a presentational show on that maybe lasted 3 to 3.5 minutes, we tried to make them kind of more fluid, so that you could kind of walk through them and be kind of immersed in them, and hopefully get the story kind of 2 or 3 times by the time you left, so you'd seen it that many times, but not try and make people dwell really.
And I believe you used some Robay eye points on that show, didn't you? How did they get on?
Yeah, I did. We used about 60 in total, 45 in a show just behind me on the main lawn, which were in 2 concentric circles round a UFO, and then the rest were kind of dotted about in strategic locations on top of buildings, on top of glass houses, using they were all part of the show experience, but beyond that they were also kind of like a beacon of light throughout the city. The show itself ran for about 14 days, and every night, whether you were in the north, the south, the east or the west of the city, because of the way the eye pointers were positioned and designed, and also because of the big beam looks that you get from them, you could see the moving lights searching through the sky every night.
And were there any particular elements of lighting that you have to consider when you're doing an illuminated trail? Because I believe you've done a few of these now.
Yeah, I've done lots of illuminated trails, and and you learn more and more each time as to what fixtures perform and what don't. But the first thing is clearly the elements. As we stand here in a very rainy Glasgow Botanical Gardens, they really have to hold up to all the elements, and it's about impact, I think, really. You start with, I guess, a story point of view. When you're looking at illuminated trail, there's always a kind of core concept, and we try to tie in with like the marketing. And then from a lighting point of view, just working with the rest of the creative team to really tell that story to your guests as they go around the experience.
What do you most enjoy about your work?
I most enjoy working with people, really. It's a really kind of collaborative experience. So kind of creating amazing productions with a brilliant team is kind of the heart of why I do it. And then also the guest experience and watching people kind of collectively share enjoying the work is really important to me.
Do you have any particularly memorable moments so far from your career?
There are lots. A couple that spring to mind are in school we won a National Theatre Connections Festival chance to go down to the National itself and perform, and it was the Cottesloe Theatre actually at the time. And on a night off we went to see a production of St Joan in the Olivier that was lit by Polly Constable, and yeah, it really kind of set a fire under me and got me excited about what lighting can do in theatre. Yeah, and I also worked in Miami last year on an adaptation of Peter Greenaway's The Cook, the Thief, his wife and her lover at Faena on Miami Beach, and it was kind of an immersive dining experience, but with full-on choreography, people being hung above the audience, food flying everywhere, and it was yeah, a really interesting one as a lighting designer to make a restaurant feel kind of lavish 1 minute and then completely grotesque the next. It was bonkers. It was good fun.
Is there a show, an artist or a place that you'd still like to light? I'm sure there are.
I think there's probably far too many to mention. I don't have any specific goals. I think goals shift so often that they're hard to keep attractive. Every time I listen to a different music track on my phone, I think I imagine, you know, lighting that to as part of like an Olympic ceremony or on a TV show or as part of a theatre production. I'd love to do something in Australia across the whole of Sydney Harbour. But I think it's also great to keep an eye out on work that is happening. Like I thought the work that was done this year down in London for the New Year celebrations was amazing, and so that really inspires you. I think the installation in the Shard is gorgeous, and so I think it's like about kind of seeing the work that's happening around the world just now that kind of influences you and inspires you to kind of do whatever's coming around the corner.
The pandemic arrived. Obviously the industry shut down in March pretty much everywhere, and it's gradually started, certain things have restarted and started coming back. Have you actually managed to keep going during that time, and has having that time also enabled you to do things that you maybe wouldn't have done otherwise?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously I can only speak for myself. The pandemic hit, and goodness knows like what date we're on of it now. But to begin with, I took some time off. We all work incredibly hard in our jobs and are away from home for a huge amount of time. So I took time off. I did lots of running. I did lots of stuff around my house, and I tried to enjoy myself, you know, in what is otherwise quite a morbid and strange time. And then of course you start to get itchy feet and want to get back to work. And I was fortunate enough to do a couple of the things for TV and the Edinburgh International Festival. And yeah, I'm just looking to kind of hopefully get straight back into it as soon as this thing's over.
I know you were born in Edinburgh. You moved to Glasgow whilst you were at university. What do you love about living in Glasgow?
I love the people of Glasgow. There's a lot of love in the city. It's kind of unapologetically gritty. Usually there's always something going on. There's like such a diverse and dynamic range of events and nightlife and galleries and work that's happening in Glasgow. It's a great city to be in.
So is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think for me, I found in the last kind of 8 months that you know, work was really a huge part of my life, and I miss it and just can't wait for it to come back. And we will come back as an industry stronger than ever.
Absolutely, and I'd also like to say thanks, Grant, for standing here in the rain and doing these interviews. It's been the first one we've done in the rain.
That's all right.
Welcome to Glasgow.
Exactly.